and boom goes the dynamite.
Welcome back to another edition of the only Monday through Friday live lacrosse talk show. This is the Daily Dive. I'm your host, Michael Karvelis. On today's show, did Lyle Thompson bail on the PLL? Doug Jamieson trade destinations. In NLL awards, there's more that have been announced. My thoughts on the winners so far. Lyle Thompson will not play in the PLL for the 2023 season. This sent waves through social media as the star said in a statement he needed time away to focus on himself and his community. But none of that compared to the reaction from yesterday's news. Our top story is presented by our store. Buy our merchandise through the link tree found in our social media bios. Support our show as we grow the game. Lyle Thompson played lacrosse for Six Nations Chiefs yesterday. The official Twitter of Six Nations tweeted the photo of him taking some mean-looking warm-up shots. Like those things looked like they had a purpose behind them. The Chiefs did win the game in an overtime thriller as Larson Sundown, who plays for the Riptide, dove in for the game winner over the Kodiaks. Obviously, though, there's an elephant in the room here. His name is Paul Rabel. On the surface, this seems like a slap in the face to the PLL. The statement we got from Lyle last week was that he needed rest. Paul had his own statement because, well, he's Paul and he wants to be seen or, slash heard. And it's funny, side point on Paul Rabel, because that's what we do on the show. He joined Up and Adams, hosted by Kay Adams on FanDuel TV, to talk about growing the game of lacrosse. And I swear nothing makes me more mad than seeing this guy take credit for the growth of a sport. Like, he talks about how hard it is for people to play lacrosse because of equipment that costs too much money. It's like, this is the same guy that had a PLL top shelf app, some video game on the App Store, be microtransaction based hell. Like, come on, dude. And then the tweets from Up and Adams' Twitter account was, he's a LeBron of lacrosse. And I told you guys, it's more about his personal brand. There's a side point. But back to Lyle Thompson, though. It's very intriguing that this appearance for Six Nations happens a week later. Like, it makes you kind of scratch your head. First Line Lacrosse on Twitter, though, made an excellent point that I thought would be great to talk about here. They said, I don't necessarily think that Lyle's decision to take the PLL season off but play for the Chiefs is as simple as he'd rather play for a Mann Cup than a PLL championship or anything like that. The account goes on to say, the structure of the MSL season will allow Lyle to choose how his rest schedule plays out with a 6-game playoff minimum, while also letting him keep his bigger priority on the Worlds, especially into June, which will, of course, be biggest for him to rep the HAU Nationals. And no, I will not try to pronounce that. But does that make Lyle look better or worse? Because, again, it's a great point by First Line Lacrosse. To me, it's worse, but for the PLL. Because on one hand, Lyle just missed the playoffs in the NLL with the Swarm. He gives PLL fans a statement of, I need rest to respect the game, and he's still playing. This guy is the face of lacrosse. Even if some guys might be better at playing, Lyle gets booties in seats. Like, to me, this is a bad look for Paul Rabel, whether he claims to support the decision in some faux statement or not. I want to give credit to Paul Rabel on this as well. I'm not the biggest fan of Lyle saying in that statement that he needs rest, because obviously that's not the case. Maybe you need rest between games, but I thought it was interesting that Lyle did not include Six Nations Chiefs in that statement to fans. So maybe Paul Rabel does know about him going to Six Nations before this. But I would just love to be a fly on the wall sometimes for things like this. Like, were those conversations like, oh, okay, well, hope you get the rest you need, and like Paul's just blindsided this morning? Or is Paul Rabel expecting this and his lips were sealed and none of this information came out until it did? Let me know your thoughts on the Twitter or Instagram pages at Daily Dive Relax. When I come back, Doug Jamieson destinations, why the conversation comes up and which teams should make a splash. We'll be right back to Daily Dive. To shop your favorite NLL merchandise, or any other league for that matter, head to Fanatics via the link tree in our social media bios. When you make a purchase on any officially licensed merchandise, we get credits, and we thank you so much for that. 26-year-old Doug Jamieson will be back with the Albany Firewolves after signing to a one-year agreement. But it's an interesting move because at 26, with a bright future, wouldn't you want like a longer-term deal? Well, this raises speculation that Albany could trade him. So Doug Jamieson, the promising goalie, played 17 games last season, posting a 77% save percentage, coupled with a 12.78 goals against average. It seems not great, but as we know, Albany went 3-15 this season. But really, 77% is not bad considering the circumstances. And I actually liked his play at times. Like, he showed so much flashes. So if he would be traded, where would he go? Let's play a game of Doug Destinations. Where you at, Doug? All right. So I have 3 teams for you guys. Buffalo, New York Riptide, San Diego first round exit Seals. Oh, good Lord. Excuse me. Bandits, we'll start with them, have a 40-year-old Matt Vince, who, if he finally wins a title with Buffalo, that's 4 rings with 2 franchises, and you ain't getting any younger. I think adding Doug Jamieson would actually be huge for this team because it's one of Buffalo's biggest needs after this playoff run. Like, people don't understand, there's a lot of questions after this season for Buffalo Bandits. Can they keep the core together? Who's their goaltender if they wait all on Matt Vince walks into the sunset? So who would I give up if I'm the Bandits? And who would I want if I'm the Albany Firewolves for that matter? Or, well, obviously you want a draft pick, but it would be a late pick because obviously Bandits would have good success, assuming, once again, I would say maybe like give up Kyle Buchanan after Connor Fields left and had success. And maybe backup goalie Devlin Shanahan. Maybe Buffalo Bandits would rather give up Kyle in like a third-round pick instead of a first-round pick. But I believe you have to give up probably a goalie or at least a second or third-round pick and maybe a decent player. And Kyle Buchanan has shown enough to where he can be promising, but obviously not like you can never get rid of him. Because Kyle Buchanan is 35 years old, but again, 58 points ain't bad. So maybe, give him Kyle Buchanan, maybe throw in a second-round draft pick, and then Devlin Shanahan. That might work. Well, some of the Riptide, because obviously the Riptide have a lot of issues, but I would give up Cameron Dunkerley, the rookie, because a Jeff Teat team has to be in a win-now mode, in my opinion. And really, in most people's opinions, it should be. So I prefer Doug Jamieson in that spot at goalie instead of Cameron Dunkerley, who showed flashes when he started. I'd give up 30-year-old Riley O'Connor, a forward that had 65 points and 70 loose balls this season, and maybe a first or second rounder. And I'd go first rounder for sure if I got Doug Jamieson and Albany was able to provide me with Jake Fox to return to the Riptide, or Marshall Palace, of course, with the Rush, exploded onto the scene with the Albany Firewolves. And about those San Diego Curtis Dixon Seals. The Seals come up because Chris Origlieri was the answer until he wasn't. Frank Scigliano isn't good right now for a win-now team. So to be fair, this is going to cause another controversial take. I would dump a rookie Jake Govett, or dare I say, Danny Logan. Get one of those promising rookies and maybe a draft pick. And then if you want to like make the draft pick later on and not early, give up Chris or Frank. See which one Albany wants to bite on. But to me, those would work for both teams. You give up a really good goaltender, get maybe a pick back, a decent player, or maybe a rookie goalie. Who knows? But I think it could work. Because, again, 1 year rental is a little bit weird. Of those three spots, though, I think Buffalo is the most realistic due to location. And to me, getting a first-round pick and maybe Devlin Shanahan combined with the veteran Kyle Buchanan is not bad. So we'll see. The location's huge in National Lacrosse League, as we already know. So there is some news coming out. We're going to talk about it next. The NLL awards, the next two have been announced. It's Teammate of the Year and Coach of the Year. We right back to Daily Dive. Brew presented by B-Riz Coffee Company. Use code DailyDive at checkout. Check out the awesome flavors that B-Riz Coffee Company has to offer. It's coffee for gamers, by gamers, and of course lacrosse and Daily Dive fans. More NLL awards were announced this afternoon, which is why I had the kind of a later start, like a 3-minute late start, because I was waiting at noon yesterday. We got Teddy Jenner, who won Media Person of the Year for the second time. Congrats, Teddy. I did not get to see that on the show yesterday. And also, we got to see Mark Fine is the Executive of the Year for the Desert Dogs, and I thought that was another great award selection. Great job of the media on those two. You could have gone Teddy, Pat Gregoire, or Adam Levy. Either one would have been fine. So, great job for that. And now, the awards today. Teammates of the Year, and this one's awesome. Dan Dawson, who's 41 years old, has won Teammates of the Year, which is really cool for The Rock. Of course, The Rock to get swept off. You'd argue they had Tom Schreiber. I get it. But Dan Dawson, I'm more impressed with the only 10 penalty minutes. Dan Dawson obviously had to give up some things this year. Probably wasn't involved in as much as he wanted to be. But Dan Dawson has been a model of consistency throughout his entire career. Dan Dawson, in his entire career, in the regular season, has 1,505 points. It's up there like in the top 10 records. I'll have to look that up later for you guys. But just the legend of the game, and shout out to him for getting a Teammate of the Year award. That's one of the more interesting awards to me, because it's kind of like, do the players vote on it? Like, how does that work? Like, what defines a teammate? Do you just think that, oh, this guy's supposed to have more touches, he doesn't get any, but for the betterment of the team? I'm not sure. But Dan Dawson, no doubt winning an award is awesome at 41 ripe years old. And this one I called, and I'm probably a lot of people called. I'm very glad that, and I don't want to say glad, but Rochester Nighthawks coach was up for this award for Coach of the Year. We give it to Ed Cuomo, but I'm okay with, of the three finalists they mentioned, Tracy Kulofsky of the Panther City Lacrosse Club. Now, Panther City, you may say, well, you know, it's only, was it a 2-game difference, I believe, last year? Yeah, they went 7-11 last year, missed the playoffs. They were minus 33 in goal differential. This is wild. Their average home attendance was almost 5,000. This year is 2,812. That's interesting. This year, though, they were 10-8, and of course, third in the West, and made the playoffs, and really did a great job in the first round. Although that does not count, and they do the voting beforehand. Some of you might call BS on that. I'm not sure, but Tracy did a good job. It's not the fact that the team exceeded expectations in year two. Most of these guys are like under 25. Like, listen to this list of names, minus Callum Crawford, obviously. Jonathan Donville, Phil Caputo, Will Malcolm, Tony Malcolm. They just got so many good players. Nick Damoud is 24 years old. There's so many young guys that work together for a greater goal. And as Callum Crawford told us on this show about a week or two ago, that this team really believed that they could do it, and they wanted to prove they could beat Calgary, and fell so very short of that accomplishment. But great job for Tracy Kulofsky, winning Coach of the Year. Obviously, he's been revered around the league for a few years now, but shout out to him. And Panther City, a.k.a. Fort Worth, Texas fans, get your butts in seats. This team is not bad. A lot of nice young talent on that team in Fort Worth. So shout out to them. Shout out to Maggie Hale, who comes on the show to hype up her purple kitty cats. We call them the pesky purple cats in Texas. That was when Renee Washington was with me on the show. And I'm telling you what, that's a good young team. I'd like to think they get even better next year. Who knows? We'll have to see what Callum Crawford. He did not announce anything about his retirement yet. I thought he played really well in that game. But no, Tracy Kulofsky, this is your moment. Great job on your accomplishment of game. Improving the team. Look at 7-11 is not a bad year last year. But the fact that so many young guys were able to make the playoffs and be as competitive as they were is really amazing. And, of course, shout out Dan Dawson, like I said before, for the Teammate of the Year. So it's 4 awards down. I do wonder, we might get 3 awards tomorrow. Let me check the NLL website. We might get 3 today. Who knows? I was checking this real quick. Okay, so Dan Dawson wins his 2nd Teammate of the Year award. Oh, Lyle Thompson has won his 5th consecutive Sportsmanship Award. There's another one I did not miss, which is why I tried to start the show earlier. So Sportsmanship Award goes to Lyle Thompson. Teammate of the Year, Dan Dawson. And like I said, Tracy Kulofsky is the Coach of the Year. And these things are still coming through. We'll probably be able to talk more about them tomorrow, but there's a lot more awards to go. Some pretty prestigious awards too. Like, who got that MVP? That's been a great topic on this show. Shout out to Curtis Dixon, by the way, in the same thread where I was getting called out on Twitter. Some guy deactivated his accounts after Curtis Dixon told him, like, you're a troll, and at least Michael puts a face to himself. There's also a funny exchange, because this is great. Listen, I don't do this stuff for clout. I do because I just like to talk sports. But there was an exchange on Twitter between Adam Levy and a guy named Brad Pond. Adam Levy asked Curtis Dixon, can you roast me, Curtis? And Brad Pond, this is funny. Way to lose Media Person of the Year, Adam. Unbelievable. Enjoy your early offseason. You people are mean, man. Adam Levy has a nice long paragraph, and then Brad Pond said, I'm trying to do my best, Karvelis. Didn't land like I had hoped. That's a good clap for me. That deserves that. Then we have lives on social media. Also subscribe to the YouTube. We're at 41 subscribers, which again is really cool. We'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great rest of your day. Add us on Twitter, Instagram, you name it. We'll try to respond tomorrow's show. We're growing. We're growing. Whether you like it or not, we are here to stay. It's only season 1, but this is awesome. All right, guys, I'm out. Like I said, same time, same place tomorrow. For everyone that watches the show, thank you. For the great guests that have come on the show in the past and who are still to come, thank you. And for the people behind the scenes that are working on the big things for the future, thank you as well. I'm your host, Karvelis. This has been Dilly Dive. Adios, amigos. Bye.